The sky over Mineral Valley didn't darken with storm clouds. It curdled with the oxidized gray of an invading fleet. The Iron Grifters had arrived, their massive airships casting oppressive shadows over the bioluminescent crystals that erupted like jagged lavender teeth from the mountain walls. In the center of the mounting panic stood Leo. His heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic, rhythmic alarm. He closed his eyes, grounding himself. "Fear," he whispered, utilizing the technique of affect labeling. "I am feeling fear. It is a sharp, cold wind. Anxiety. It is a high-frequency buzzing in my ears." As he named the emotions, the psychological chaos began to settle, and the ground beneath his boots felt solid once again. As the mechanical drone of the invaders intensified, Leo's parents, Lyra and Cassian, took charge of the evacuation. They weren't soldiers, but they were the village's veteran pilots, the logistical minds who kept the community's spirit on course. They moved through the crowd with practiced, stoic calm, directing families toward the reinforced lower caverns. They were the anchors in the rising tide of panic, transforming a potential stampede into a disciplined retreat. Lyra caught Leo's eye and gave a sharp, meaningful nod, a silent command that they would manage the present crisis if he could secure their future. Leo retreated to his tactical hub, a structure he had engineered from scavenged glass and ancient obsidian planks perched high on a ridge. Inside, the walls were papered with complex maps of the valley's natural light pathways. He sat at his desk, the distant clanking of robotic joints echoing through the canyon. He needed a strategy, and he needed it immediately. He pulled out his journal, his fingers finally steady. This wasn't just a hideout anymore. It was the nerve center of the resistance. Leo initiated the ABCDE method to dissect the crisis. First, he identified the activating event. The grifters were targeting the core quartz. Next, he challenged his belief that they were helpless, noting the consequences of panic. He began to dispute his fear by brainstorming options. Hiding was a temporary fix, and direct combat was suicide. He decided to leverage the valley's unique geography, choosing an effective new approach, a massive light illusion using mirror peak to overload the robot's optical sensors. As he worked through the logistics, his purpose crystallized. His younger sister, Micah, was curled in the corner of the hub, her eyes wide with a paralyzing terror. Leo knelt beside her, lowering his voice to a steady, comforting frequency. "Micah, I need you to perform a perspective shift for me," he said gently. "If you were a cold, autonomous machine that processed the world only through heat signatures, what would be your greatest weakness?" Micah blinked, the gears of her mind shifting from fear to logic. "A sun," she whispered. "A sun right in my optical array." Leo smiled. By helping her adopt the enemy's viewpoint, he watched her fear transform into tactical curiosity. His brother, Jasper, was pacing near the exit, white-knuckling a wooden practice sword. "We should be down there fighting, not hiding in a glass box," Jasper snapped. Leo stepped into his path, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Jasper, look at the situation from Mom and Dad's perspective. They need us to be strategic, not impulsive. If we rush out without a plan, we become another liability they have to protect." Leo guided him to the observation window, pointing out the patrol patterns of the robotic scouts. Jasper's posture softened as he realized that restraint was a form of courage too. The moment for the healthy risk had arrived. Leo scaled the sheer, shimmering face of Mirror Peak, the highest elevation in the valley. The wind whipped at his gear, and the vertical drop below was dizzying. His pulse was rapid, but it wasn't the freezing fear from earlier. It was the sharp adrenaline of a necessary mission. He reached the summit and began to unbox the massive, precision-polished crystals he had hauled up. If he could align them to the exact degree, the midday sun would become his primary weapon. Far below, the Iron Grifter commander, a hulking, rusted titan of gears known as Ferrum, marched into the village square. The robots deployed their industrial extraction drills, preparing to violate the mountain's core. Suddenly, a concentrated beam of solar energy struck the square, followed by a second and a third. It was a high-stakes game of optical physics. From his high vantage point, Leo directed the flow of light, like a conductor leading a silent, blinding orchestra. Jasper joined the chain from a lower balcony, using a large reflective shield to catch a stray beam and angle it toward the secondary scouting units. The robots whirred in mechanical distress, their logic circuits failing as their sensors were overwhelmed by the shifting, brilliant glare. They began to spin in aimless circles, unable to process the environment. The valley wasn't just their home, it had become a sophisticated weapon of pure, luminous beauty, reflecting the brilliant sun into every mechanical eye. The Iron Grifters, blinded and unable to navigate the unstable energy signatures, retreated to their ships and fled the valley. As the metallic shadows vanished, the village erupted in a chorus of relief. Lyra found Leo at the base of the peak. She didn't just offer a hug. She looked at him with the quiet respect reserved for an equal. He had used his mind and his emotions to safeguard their reality. Mineral Valley was secure, and its true heart, the resilience of its people, glowed with a light more permanent than any crystal.